Hey folks, Jason here with another quick music theory tip. This video is a response to a comment left on the very first quick music theory tip video where I talk about alternating whole tone scales over falling fifths. If you have not seen that video, I strongly recommend you watch that before diving into this video. I've left a link below in the description to that video. So the question was, and I'm paraphrasing pretty loosely here, but essentially, how do you take the concepts from that video and use them in a real world improvisational context? There's a lot of context, and there'll be many videos where I talk about this, but I thought a good place to start would be over rhythm changes. Rhythm changes refers to a chord progression used in a lot of jazz songs or jazz compositions, and it's based on George Gershwin's I Got Rhythm. This can be played in any key, but very often it's played in the key of B flat. So we're going to use that key for today in this video. The B section of rhythm changes typically goes to the 3 chord of whatever key we're in. So over in the key of B flat, we're going to go to scale degree 3 or D. And what we do is play dominant sevenths over a falling fifths pattern starting on that D. So D7 for 2 measures. Then we go down a fifth to do G7 for 2 measures. Then we go down another fifth to do C7 for 2 measures. And then down another fifth to do F7 for 2 measures. Okay, great. So how does this connect to the alternating whole tone scales? Just as a quick review, there's really only 2 whole tone scales. Whole tone scale number 1 consists of 6 of the 12 notes in the chromatic scale organized into whole steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then if I go up a half step from that, we get the next 6 notes of the 12-note chromatic scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the 2 alternating whole tone scales are whole tone scale number 1 and then whole tone scale number 2. Now, how the heck does this connect to the D7 chord, G7 chord, C7 chord, and F7 chord? Let's break it down. The root of the D7 chord is the 2nd note of whole tone scale number 1. The 3rd of the D7 chord is the 4th note of whole tone scale number 1. And the 7th of the D7 chord is the 1st note of whole tone scale number 1. So if I'm playing a D7 chord, and notice how I'm leaving out the 5th, this is very common in jazz, and actually a lot of styles of music, but just doing the root, 3rd, and 7th, I can play that chord and then play the 1st whole tone scale over that. Same principle applies to the G7 chord, right? Notice how the root of the chord is the 4th of whole tone scale number 2. The 3rd of the chord is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th note of whole tone scale number 2. And then our 7th of the G7 is the 3rd note of whole tone scale number 2. So if I leave out the 5th of the G7 and just play the root, 3rd, and 7th, I can go ahead and play that 2nd whole tone scale. Up next, we got our C7 chord. Same principle. The notes of the chord can be found in the 1st whole tone scale. So I can play the notes of the 1st whole tone scale over the C7 chord. Same principle with the F7 chord. I can play the notes of the 2nd whole tone scale over it. Okay, now I'm just going to demonstrate this in time over the actual progression of D7, G7, C7, F7, and I'll say which whole tone scale I'm playing. Under tempo, 1, 2, 3, 4. Whole tone scale number 1. Whole tone scale number 2. Whole tone scale number 1. Whole tone scale number 2. Now, that can be really boring and pedantic just to play scales up and down like that, but what I'm going to do is play some simple lines using notes of those alternating whole tone scales, and I'll say which whole tone scale I'm in as I play each chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whole tone scale number 1. Whole tone scale number 2. Whole tone scale number 1. Whole tone scale number 2.